Hi everyone. So this is a very important chapter, and I really hope that by the time that you are watching this, you have already looked at the pages that I've mentioned previously multiple times, pages for Monroe's motivated sequence, which are, if you have forgotten, it's pages 535 until 537. So if you have not done that, go there right now and take a look at them. Um, so Today we will be discussing Monroe's motivated sequence, and that is the sequence that you need to know for your LCP assignment because you will be arranging it according to Monroe's motivated sequence. So, this chapter basically talks about organizing the persuasive speech, and we have talked a lot about organization in class. We've shared different strategies that different people in the class use. We've talked about how different essays require different types of organizations. So today we're going to talk about organization in a persuasive speech. There can be different types of organization in a persuasive speech, and one of the ones that is quite popular is a problem solution type organization. And it is also the kind of organization that you most naturally, that your brain most naturally comes up with. So Monroe's motivated sequence is kind of similar to the problem solution organization, but it does have additional steps. So also keep in mind that in this chapter, there are some great ideas as to how you can use a multitude of strategies as your group is developing the LCP presentation and fit it into Monroe's sequence. So make sure to look through it before your meeting. Like I said many times, this chapter is very important for your project. So, are our claims based on fact, value, policy, or more than one claim type? So, whenever you're making any claims in your essay, and by claims I mean making your arguments, trying to prove a point, usually you're going to be basing it on some kind of fact or on a value that you have. So maybe the value is that lives are important, or that killing is wrong, etc. These kinds of things that you cannot really that vary from person to person. So it can be based on fact value or on policy, so basically on certain rules. And that is something that you want to consider as you are doing your LCP project. Are your claims based on fact, value, policy, or more than one of those? So think about that. And then what call to action do we want to have from our audience? This is another question I wrote down because I want you to think about this as you're going through your project. At the end of it all, what kind of action are you hoping to achieve from this? Action from your audience, that is. What are you hoping to incite in them? How can we use the concepts of this rhetorical situation and ethos, pathos, logos to our advantage as we develop our group ideas? So this is kind of bringing together what we've been doing this semester. As you're working on this, as you're organizing your essay, think about ethos, pathos, and logos. Also think about the different arguments, fallacies that you found and stuff. If you find yourself making an argument fallacy, then maybe you want to avoid that because it can be not that persuasive, or you would like to argue without a fallacy. And coming back to ethos, pathos, and logos, once you are appealing to the audience in your speech, you find yourself thinking, oh, maybe I want to use statistics here, then you will be using logos. So this is how you will be using all of these in your essay, bringing together what you've studied in this class. So be mindful if you find yourself only using a lot of statistics, maybe come back to ethos, pathos, and logos in your head and be like, maybe I should be appealing to their emotions as well. So maybe I'll use something very emotionally powerful, like a story, or something in the beginning, in the introduction, to really convince them. Or maybe I will use a lot of pathos in my digital video project. And lastly, the same for ethos. As you're in the introduction, you want to show your credibility. You want to make us feel like you're a trustworthy person to believe on this topic. So really think about those things as you're working on this project, right? Bring it all in together. And then lastly, you want to consider what attitudes, values, and beliefs may our audience already have about our local/community issue. So when you are working on this project, you want to be thinking about the audience. And the audience is not just me, but really kind of like your entire class and this regular lay person from Lexington, from UK. That's your audience. So think about what values and beliefs does a regular layperson at UK in Lexington have? What do they think about this issue? If it's homelessness, how much does a regular person in Lexington really know? Do they know how many people are homeless? So if you think about that, then you'll know to include that information before you're making your arguments, or use that as your argument. And now we're going to get into the Monroe's motivated sequence and what the structure is that you have to follow. So, is there a way your group can weave problem, solution, comparative advantages, refutation into your speech, which uses Monroe's motivated sequence? So I'm going to describe what Monroe's motivated sequence is. And then if you'd like to go over what problem, solution, comparative advantages, and refutation is, you're going to have to read that in the chapter to refresh yourselves, because I don't have time to go over each one of those. So the Monroe's motivated sequence is essentially just an organization style for your speech, for your persuasive speech. The very first thing is, you got it, it's attention. You want to be grabbing the attention of your audience. This is something we've been doing pretty much since the beginning of class, and something that you probably did if you took CIS 110. Talked a lot about making sure you get the attention of the listener. So when you trying to get the attention of the listener, you want to kind of make the speech highly relevant to them. So if we're going to go back to our homelessness example, perhaps you want to state some really flashy statistic. And by the fact that it's a local and community issue, it's going to be relevant to them and shocking, right? So that's the first step. Then you want to move on to this next step, which is the need. And the need step isolates the issue to be addressed. So you're going to kind of get deeper into the issue. And you want to show the audience that they have an important reason to listen, that there is this big problem, there is this issue that needs to be solved. So that's really the entire point of this. So you've gotten them interested in the beginning. You're telling them these are the numbers of homelessness in Kentucky, in Lexington. And then so they're listening, you got their attention. Then you move on to the need step, where you really delve into the details and you really illustrate the crucial, most important problem. So if it is just the existence of homelessness, then maybe you will start to explain in more detail what the issues are of somebody being homeless for the community or for the person, etc. Whatever the real problem is. So let's say, for example, with homelessness in Lexington, the need, the problem that you want to present a solution to is going to be the just in general, homelessness, numbers of homelessness in Kentucky. That's the need, that's the problem. It needs to be solved by, for example, people being in houses, building more houses. So in the attention getter, you can say there are currently, 100,000 homeless people in Kentucky, and 50% of them are located in Lexington. So here you got their attention. Then you move on to the need, where you will say this many people are homeless and these people suffer and they die, and that leads to a drop in the entire economy of Lexington. For example, I don't know if any of this is true at all, so please don't quote me on it. I'm just trying to show how you are really illustrating a need so that the audience is thinking, okay, they have convinced me. This is a problem. So then you got them on a hook. Now you can give them the satisfaction step. You can give them the solution. You've made them believe that there is a problem, so now they want you to tell them what the solution is. So your entire essay is going to be kind of um, balanced on the fact of, are you going to be able to convince your audience that there is a need, that there is a problem? In the satisfaction step, you're going to identify that solution for them. So um, this can be this step can begin in the crux of the speech. So you will be offering your audience some kind of proposal to change their attitudes, to change their beliefs, to change their values. You can be proposing all of those things so that that can then lead to the solution of the problem. For example, with the homelessness example, maybe you are proposing that everybody donates. So then you're asking them to change their behavior. It's a call to action, which we're going to get into in the last step. But essentially, you will be telling them, if everybody could donate $1, then it could solve the homelessness problem because we would be able to build houses, and you talk about how those houses are going to solve the problem because each homeless person will be able to live there. So that's an example. And then we move on to the visualization stage. And in this stage, you're giving the audience a vision of the anticipated outcomes that's associated with the solution. The purpose of this step is to carry the audience members beyond just accepting the feasibility of your proposal to seeing how it will actually benefit them. So you will be telling them about all the houses, etc. And then you want to take it a step further and explain how if nobody is homeless, then they don't have to worry about their children's futures, for example, because maybe they could be worried that what if my child becomes homeless if I'm not there to support them, you know? So this way you're taking it further, helping them place themselves into this by showing how this issue affects them. This is also very, very convincing and important. And then lastly, the last step of this is action. And this is the action step where the speaker asks the audience members to act accordingly to their acceptance of the message. So you have already convinced them, you told them what to do, you told them how it's going to solve the problem, how it's going to affect them. And so now you're saying, so go ahead and donate that dollar. You're telling them what is that action that they have to take, hopefully as soon as possible. And that is the last step of this speech. So you want to be organizing your speech in accordance to these steps. So take whatever issue it is you chose and put it in there. And I have an example here that I've also posted in the discussion board. This example is of a speech that uses this Monroe's motivated sequence, and she talks about donating blood and convincing people to donate blood. So hopefully this clarified what may have not been clear after reading the chapter. That's why I tried to give this one example all the way through. So consider how your presentation will be divided up into the sections of this MMS, Monroe's motivated sequence, and who will do which part. Remember, there are time requirements as well as other parameters to follow, specifically, for example, the digital video. Excuse me. So make sure that you follow these steps of Monroe's motivated sequence in order and that you have each group member participate equally. So that's incredibly crucial for this assignment. Oh, excuse me. But that is all that I have for you for this chapter. So please let me know if you have any questions in the discussion group.